Stewart with InspirED, and joining me today is Timmie Wanechko for our InspirED series. So I'm going to be chatting with Timmie a little bit about what inspires her. So let's start off by learning a little bit more about you and what inspires you.
Okay. So thank you for having me. Really great to be part of the series. My name is Timmie, like she just said. I'm a wellness entrepreneur. So what I do is I teach Reiki courses, energy healing courses, and crystal healing courses, and I also teach fitness, yoga, and dance.
Wonderful. And so what inspires you?
I'm inspired by the people that I work with. So a lot of what I do rose out of the fact that I was a participant in a lot of these classes and a lot of these courses and workshops. I'm a huge reader, and so I was very much inspired to kind of grow in the way that I've grown now. And so what I wanted to do was, teach people, or at least inform people, let them know, like, hey, there are these awesome things, and if it feels good for me, it might feel good for you too. And it all kind of grew from there. It's been a long time in the making. But most of the time, I am inspired by the people around me, by the people who I work with, who encourage me to strive higher and to be my best. Of course, there's lots of authors and writers and people that I follow, bloggers, all over the world. I could go on. But mostly the people I work with, people like you, people at the gym, people at the studio, and all my students, they continue to inspire me all the time.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of neat because you basically, you found a way to transform what inspired you into how you're now inspiring other people.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the hope, right? I mean, because I know you can't change people, and it's not about, telling people to do a certain thing or advising in any way, but basically sharing information and hoping that it can help them in some way. And I know that's how I was affected, and I'm always, it's always the little things that really transform you. Like if you've ever been to a yoga class where you've only been to that instructor the one time, you can't ever go again, and that person changed your life, and you didn't even get a chance to tell them afterward. You just said thank you, you leave, but that person totally changed you. So I mean, I'm not here to change people, but you never know what you might say that might lift somebody up.
Words are powerful.
Absolutely.
Actions, words, everything we put out is powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've gotten a lot of positive feedback. I mean, I didn't just wake up one day and decide I'm just gonna teach Reiki. That was actually the last thing I expected that I would do. It's just something that I learned for myself, for my own personal self-care. And I progressed because I wanted to share it with my kids, and I wanted to expand my reach. And then I reached that point where it kind of coincided with a point in my previous event planning business where I was looking to expand, and I learned a lot from event planning. And I learned, having done other workshops before, I had done prenatal yoga workshops, I had done nutrition workshops. I enjoy this. I want to keep doing it. I get a lot of great feedback. It feeds my soul, and people seem to like it.
Yeah.
So what's something that I can do? And it's like, well, maybe I could teach Reiki. And I sat on that for a while before I actually launched it.
So
and
you didn't just dive in.
No.
You kind of let it percolate.
I did, probably longer. And it's funny that the way I got started was almost completely by accident. Because I've been in business teaching Reiki now for a little over a year.
Yeah.
And the time that I started, I was actually going to just quit and be like, you know what, this is ridiculous. I'm not ready to start until 2016, so I'm just going to shelf this.
Yeah,
exactly. But I had forgotten that I had made arrangements with somebody to teach a course last March, and I actually set a solid date.
Yes.
And I had pure intentions, and then she reminded me, and I was like, well, yeah, that's going to happen. I have to get my shit together.
Yeah.
So
I got to
did.
make it happen.
Yeah, I made it happen, and it worked, and it was great, and it just kept going. So, but I mean, I'll never forget that, because I was really going to be like, hey, I'm just not ready. 2016 is the time. Well, 2015 was in fact the time.
Wow.
So.
That's really interesting, because I was just chatting with Travis about tabling the things that we want to do, and it's interesting that you set a date, and because you actually scheduled it, that meant that you did it.
Yes.
And that's a huge thing that I think a lot of people aren't aware of, that you have to put your dreams into action.
Yeah.
Even if you're scared. You just have to start.
Absolutely. And it's not about waiting until you're not scared. You will always be scared. Yeah. And stuff will always happen. And not only did I set a date, what's also important was I was accountable to somebody else. So, I mean, if I had just set a date and I put it on my calendar, I will lose so much pounds by this time. If I don't do it, who cares? Nobody knows that. Yeah. But, I mean, if you say I know how some people put money into a pot or whatever they do, if they run for a charity or whatever. If you're accountable to somebody else, then it's not just about you anymore. It's like, you know what, I promised them something. And then the nice thing, too, is if you do it and you fail, least you can say you tried it.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, you're failing by not trying. So
Yeah.
what's the difference?
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
That too. But a lot of people don't see it that way.
Right.
They don't see it as failure at all because they never really
Try.
went out and tried.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you do for self-care then? You obviously teach it to other people.
Yeah.
What do you do for yourself?
Well, as much as I can, try to get that for myself. Like massages, I love massages. That's one thing that I don't do. And
That you
unlike,
don't offer?
I don't offer. Yeah, that's what I mean.
Gotcha.
So I mean, like receiving Reiki from myself is easy enough, but getting a massage, I love those. Taking yoga classes,
Yeah.
you know, it's kind of a big joke. Anyone who teaches
Yeah.
anything, here's
Yeah.
the funny part, right? You teach because you love it, and then you're available because you take classes on these days. Then you become an instructor. And then they ask, "What's your availability?" And you give them your availability, and then that's your life, right? So
Right.
as much as I can, taking these classes again, allowing myself to just receive and be a student,
Yeah.
and allowing myself to read.
Yeah. As much as you are a teacher, that's right. You have to
Yeah.
be a student as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I totally just lost my list of questions.
Yeah.
So give me a second.
Yes.
Okay. Not that I really need it, but
Yeah.
I just
That's okay.
help us move along a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so because we're talking about constantly learning,
Yeah.
what are you currently learning?
Well, I'm actually in the midst of reading a number of books at this time. I'm sure there are many people in your audience who read like 12 books at a time. A new subject that I'm learning is herbalism. So I'm studying more about herbalism. Don't ask me anything about it
Okay.
because I'm still very much a beginner.
How do I
and,
cure?
yeah, no. So, I mean, it's really something that's quite out of my comfort zone in a way. But right now, not just reading a lot about it, which is how I used to learn a lot of things, that I would just read and I wouldn't
Yes.
implement. Now I'm really making myself get down and dirty, make these things, and make that decision. So I was just really curious. It's something I'd seen a lot about, and I thought, you know what? So I joined an online course for herbalism. So I thought, I'll try it. If it doesn't work for me, then at least I can say I've tried it, I've tasted it.
Yep.
It doesn't make me feel good, so we'll see how that goes. But I know that herbalism is one of the, just like everything, it's a slow-growing healing process. So right now I'm just working on being disciplined with making my infusions. I'm glad that
you're actually physically making them right now.
Oh yeah, it's not difficult. Cool. I mean, like I was talking with someone the other day, and she's like, "Oh, infusion's really just a tea. It's a long brewing tea, but that's the thing. You forget to make it the night before. That's it. You make your infusion now to drink later. So it's really being disciplined in making it. And it's funny because I was so scared. I'm like, what if it tastes like crap? And I don't want to move on from chapter 1. It's like, well, if I don't like chapter 1, then I'll drop it. Well, I enjoy the taste, oddly enough. It doesn't taste like grass like I thought it would. It actually tastes good. So, yeah.
That's great.
And yeah, and I'm always trying to learn different aspects of energy healing. Like I'm reading Anatomy of the Spirit, which I know is a big classic. It was written in 1996. Yeah, I feel like everybody's read it, and I've read all sorts of other things, but that's one thing that I haven't read.
I started it as well,
yeah.
and I haven't made it through.
Yeah, so that's the thing with energy healing books, is they're not very exciting. I mean, they're exciting, they're great, especially if it's like your first couple books, but especially when you're doing it for research purposes, you're kind of, I'm trying to really just enjoy, and she tells the story beautifully well, so I'm really working on enjoying the story and just reading it more like a story rather than, okay, give me something I don't already know.
Yeah.
Right? And especially with energy healing, it's largely experientially based. So, I mean, you can only go so far with a book. You really have to try it for yourself.
Well, I think that that's actually why a lot of those books go slower than most, is there's an integration period.
Yeah.
And kind of like a brewing that needs to happen. And sometimes we reach a certain point in those books, and then we have to pause for a little bit. So it's totally cool that you're taking your time.
Yeah.
Okay, so on to the next question. I'm a big lover of quotes, so that's why I'm asking you what your favorite quote is. And I kind of asked you ahead of time, so you can maybe think about
I forgot to bring it with me, so I'm just going to tell you.
Summary's good too.
Okay,
Totally good.
so it's by Joseph Campbell, and it's something like, please forgive me, it's something like, the cave that you fear holds your freedom. The point of it being the shadow, or that which you fear, holds the key to your sovereignty. And so
the cave that you fear holds.
I'm sure that's not what it is.
No, it's okay. It's okay. So the cave that you fear holds your freedom.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
or the cave that you fear to enter. So basically, like the darkness, right? Like that dark side holds a key to freedom. right? And you can totally blow that up and extrapolate it and look at it from completely different angles. But why it's meaningful to me and why because it's funny because I was rereading these questions again, and I had minimized one of my browsers, and then I had written on a Pages document that quote because I got it because I attended an online conference this weekend and I wrote it down. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to remember that. And there it was staring at me. So
Perfect.
Yeah, over the past few months, basically, it's been a journey of getting out of my comfort zones. A lot of things.
So facing those fears.
Yeah. I mean, not like real phobias. I'm not suggesting people who hate spiders should go and seek out spiders because we know that creates opposite effect. But you know, those things that are not really harmful or dangerous, but like people who are afraid of, say, public speaking or something like that. You know,
get a taste of it.
Yeah, exactly, and see what the lesson is there. So that's just something that resonated really strongly with me.
Thank you.
This time.
Thank you. Okay, so what's one thing that you recently learned that if you could, you would share with everybody, such as the people that we're chatting with today?
Well, one thing that I've recently relearned, like something that I've always been aware of, but I know like really for sure, is that energy matters. Energy with everything matters. So I know it's very trendy now because there was a huge influx in law of attraction, positive, all that stuff, and now it's quite trendy to say that stuff doesn't really matter at all, and that you need to just, do the work, which I'm not saying don't do the work, you must do the work. This whole being an entrepreneur, as you know, it's perfect for workaholics, like us, right, who enjoy working, because if you don't enjoy working, you're not going to be a good business person, end of story. But energy absolutely 100,000% matters. So the energy that you bring to something, your intention, and your ability to surrender the outcome is huge. I mean, it's no longer, I think we know better than to just hustle hard and for it to be difficult. There's still going to be work. But there are things that you can do energetically that can make it so much easier, that much easier. And it's really important to say that. I mean, I've never made a vision board, for example.
Right.
But I totally appreciate what goes behind vision boards because, I mean, the fact of the matter is, they do work, for example, because it's an energetic process. Well, that's not entirely true. What I did at the beginning of 2015 was Danielle Laporte's Core Desired Feelings. I printed out from her Pinterest board, I printed out about 8 of them, and I placed them in a frame, and they're in my bathroom, my personal bathroom. And at the beginning of the year, those were all aspects that seemed, kind of like not completely removed from me, but something I would have to work towards. And by the end of the year, I really felt like I had embodied or experienced fully every single one of those things without really making so much of a conscious effort to be like, today I'm going to experience more, expansion or anything like this. I printed it out, I put it up, I looked at it every time I go to the bathroom, and it was really amazing because it's like, wow, I really feel these things now, and I really didn't do much more.
Interesting.
Those intentions.
So energy matters.
Absolutely. It really matters. And it's so important to say that again because it's like, no doubt it matters. We all know that. But like, do people really, really, really know that? Like, we're so used to things being difficult and making things take a long time and for things being expensive. It doesn't have to be. Sometimes it is expensive. It doesn't have to be difficult. But that doesn't mean it's not going to be work. But it doesn't have to be blood, sweat, and tears all the time.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
So the marriage of the two of those is important.
Yeah, absolutely. So the shadow side to that is, of course, just we live in a physical realm. You have to do the work, right? So that's another thing that I've seen, if that aspect can get a little bit carried away when people relinquish responsibility by saying, well, this is happening, ergo it must be a sign. Well, it's a sign you need to get your stuff together. Exactly. That's an energy too, an energy of being a victim. Right?
So maybe coming to recognize where energy is in everything that we do and how it affects even our actions. Because, like I know for myself, when I've done business or any sort of projects, the energy behind it is what propels my action.
Absolutely.
And if it's not coming from that source of a vision or purpose within me, it's very distorted. But if it's pure and it's a pure intention, then my energy actually helps to propel it forward. So
that's another thing was I've come to learn over the last few months was if it's right, it flows. That's not to say you're not going to hit obstacles. If anything, it's almost a guarantee that when you're this close, you're going to hit something.
Yes.
And it's kind of like that final test from God. You're like, do you really want
Yeah.
it this badly?
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, it's not really an obstacle, but it's choosing to get over that last thing. But for the most part, you know, when everything lines up, you know, the right person contacts you, it's a yes, you know, it's within your budget or whatever it is. But that's an energetic thing as well.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Yeah. Okay, well, I think that's all for today. Like,
Awesome.
you've shared so many valuable nuggets, and I'm sure that you'll be able to connect with a lot of people on what you've said. So
Thank you.
thank you. And thank you so much for watching today, and we'll chat with you again soon.